जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Good morning everyone. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Dirty to Soil course, and today is day 6. So today we are discussing on the feeding of cows, and today's speaker is Dr. Shri Kumar Prabhu. Yeah, we will just have a overview of the previous session. Actually the context for this course is that as we all know that we seek that we want stable families living peacefully, healthy lives, and we want adequate nutritious food, clean water, and clean air from fertile landscapes. So we want education, quality of life, and which will be brought about by behaving with integrity as being with all life forms, by ensuring them to live their lifespan, performing their functions. So by understanding following the universal paradigm, what is that universal paradigm? Universal paradigm is Om Purnamada Om Purnamidam paradigm. It helps us to make better decisions. So as we understood that there are no parts in nature, so thinking in whole is critical to make better decisions. So yesterday we have learned the function of udder and the potential of milk. So what is that function of udder? The function of udder is the udder of a cow is an organ designed to produce and offer a newborn calf to get a easy access to its mother's milk. Okay, and what is milk? A fluid secreted from the mammary glands of female mammals for the nourishment of their young ones. So like yesterday, Sri Kala Mataji was explaining about what is the growth potential in cow's milk. So to grow the calf to 10 times of its birth weight in 9 to 10 months, that is should be like 1 kg per day. That is that minimum. It should be 1 kg per day. That when it will happen by keeping mother and calf together. So that is for at least for 24 hours. So to attain puberty, by attaining 65 to 70% of adult weight in 9 to 10 months. So by ensuring or by keeping mother and baby calf together for 24 hours, we can ensure disease-free healthy life of both mother and calf. And and also like we learned that yesterday's session that excess milk also can be obtained. How it can be obtained? Like which are consuming fodder with high Brix levels, as a result of which the milk production is more than requirement of the calf, and which are consuming fodder with high Brix levels, as a result which the milk quality is high, resulting in the calf being satisfied with less milk, or when the calf is sick, or when calf is separated. So the milk available for purchase today is milk obtained from by which separating the calf, which is called the adharmic actually. So and another point is that what happens when we bred the cows? So when we bred the cows for more milk, their healthy lifespan will got reduced, and udder couldn't produce more milk because of different diseases like mastitis and so many other things. And then the dairying becomes unprofitable for the producer, and naturally they will cull the cows. So even now there are like few of the exploitations done to the cows to produce or to market the milk. There most of the cows are stall fed, and there is no grazing, and feeding of cows in goshalas, not goshalas, I mean go shauchalayas, I would say, and housing cows in go shauchalayas. Calves has been separated from their mothers, and impregnating a cow, which which is in milking, and castration of bulls have been doing. So all these in Rig Veda and Atharva Veda, it has been told that when we separate the calf, the consequences what we need to face is the milk which is derived forcibly from cows is poisonous and leads to innumerable and incurable diseases. So today we will discuss on feeding of cows. That will be Sri Kumar Prabhu will be presenting it today. So I request Sri Kumar Prabhu, please take up the session, Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you once again for the opportunity. Prabhuji, can you permit me to share?
Yes, Prabhu, it is already permitted.
Hare Krishna to all. Welcome back. The main heading or the main agenda in the discussion of the course that is going on is the common sense approach to managing landscapes with biodiversity. That is the main thing. And of these 5 courses, 5 days that is over, we have seen the different functions, because biodiversity, how to manage means we should know the function of each species that is there in the biodiversity. So one by one we have done. We first saw what the human being or the farmer should be doing. Then we saw what the plant is doing. Then we saw what the landscape is doing. Yesterday we understood what the milk is doing. And today we will understand the functional management of cows. That is, we have understood that grazing is the main function of the cow. So how that function can be achieved, so that we should be knowing the feeding of the cows, their digestive system and all those things. It's to plan their feeding, that their function of grazing, we need to know certain signs. That is what is discussed today. And just wanted to say, no, we are giving you a questionnaire after each class. And just one question that, just there in the landscape function. And the question was, what is the commonality between photosynthetic rate and photosynthetic capacity? The answer is biodiversity. That is, both are happening because of biodiversity. The key factor that increases the photosynthetic rate or the photosynthetic capacity is biodiversity. That we need to, I'm just reminding you, that is the correct answer. All the other answers were all good. Yesterday also some questions were given, and it is from that we understand what you have understood and how we plan the remaining part of the course. So please cooperate in answering the questions that is given to you. And as our host was speaking on the context, because this is what we want to achieve, or this is how we want our life to be. That is what is the context for this presentation. And we are stressing on contextual decision, that we should take our decisions that lead us to our context. We shouldn't take us away from the context. That is why we are stressing here. And please understand this, whatever direction or recommendation we are giving in the class is understanding that we human beings are a little bit weak in managing a complexity, and we have a tendency to reduce that complexity, and then face the unintended consequences. And then when we face the unintended consequences, we try to manage the unintended consequences without removing the cause. The cause is we try to manage the complexity or try to reduce the complexity. that is needed. So always what helps is the, what leads to that unintended consequence is the decision. And we understood that who is influencing the decision? It is the paradigm. So it is always the paradigm that influences. So I will just share you why I'm stressing on this contextual decision. You see, we veterinarians, we have an oath. That is our context. Animal health and welfare. That is what is told we have to do. And the conservation of animal resources. In which way is the animal husbandry department or the veterinary doctor doing this? We are culling the cows. No, we are saying this cow is of no use. Cull it. How can it be that we are conserving the animal resources? So it is a non-contextual planning, and hence in no way a veterinarian is able to follow his context. Same way you see the medical field. I swear upon, you read, I will not be ashamed to say I know not. And if you read in that, you will understand that the food is thy medicine is what Hippocrates told. We do not know what food is. The doctors even do not know what food is or nutrition is. It is not a course in medical science. We should know. So then that means it is non-contextual. What we have written in the oath is not what is happening. It is only unintended. Then Hippocrates was saying, if the health professional is functioning, there will be no disease in the herd, in the population. Now we have only diseases. Pandemic is where we are. That means it is a non-contextual functioning of that particular profession. So same way for veterinarians also it is like this. So that is where the context importance is. We have decided to live such a life and we take decisions oppositely. For another example, when we decide, five people decide we want to protect trees. And we speak about trees. Trees have to be protected. It is giving photosynthesis and all. And then one person comes and asks, what is your profession? How are you earning your income? We run a furniture shop in all the major cities. It is not contextual. No, you are saying you want to protect trees and you are the one who is supplying the furniture. It doesn't work to that. That is exactly what we are saying regarding cows also. We want to protect them. Cows are so precious for us. But the cause for their problem is that we are seeing them for milk. That is why it's everything has to be contextual. So, and we told that is all dependent or influenced by a paradigm, and the paradigm should be the Vedic paradigm. The other one is opposite, is the corporate paradigm, which I'm not saying, I told in the group also, when I say corporate, I simply mean the opposite. That we need to develop, we need to invent. That is what the corporate thinking. Corporate means it includes the university also. Everywhere, what is being taught to us. So here in the Vedic paradigm, it is clear. There is no need to, the highlight speaks, that the more you do, the more the resources will be there. No population increase, don't worry, but do the right things. Resource at the site, no need for any inventions. Farm and farmer are the same. Technology is important, but biodiversity is even more important. That is what it says. Nature is self-organizing and relentless. Nature will always win. And there is no parts in nature. Thinking in wholes is critical to making better decisions. So this is the paradigm that should influence in your decision making so that you can achieve your context. That is how it is. And here also, I am taking the decision for you all. You are not included in my decision making. You are all my resources. I will just do whatever I want. But in the other case, when we behave as a human being, I am with you. We are all together. And all decisions made simultaneously considers the well-being of all other species. To do it this way, only a conscious human being shall have the skill to manage complexity in our system. Actually, there's a mistake in this sentence. I told only a conscious human being. Actually, human being is one who has consciousness. So I shouldn't have told like that. I should have written only a human being shall have. The other one is who doesn't exercise his consciousness is the human doing. So that is where it is. So now we are going into the contextual management of cows. That is how the main principle, contextual management. It's not utilitarian management. It is to achieve the context. Cows should be managed in such a way that they get free access to water, fodder. Fodder means the grass that they eat. Mother Nature has designed cows to thrive on grass and grass alone. That is how they have been designed. They are not designed with beaks that the birds have, because the birds means they have managing with grains or stones, but cows are not meant for that. And mobility, they have to move. That is, when we manage the cows, they should be getting free movement. They should have free access to diverse fodder, water, companion. Why companion? Please understand, cows are herd animals. That herd is the complexity. When we reduce it, one cow, I have one cow, I'm keeping one cow, I have 10 cows. That is reducing the complexity. You will face a lot of problems. When it is in the hands of the herder managing the herd in a village, then only actually she is happy. She can perform her functions. Still, we will discuss, even if you have one cow only, some mimicking of that can be done. But always remember, the right thing is they are herders. They are herding animals. They function best as a herd, not as single animals. So they come under the category of herbivores. What is herbivores? Simple. They put on mass by consuming plants. They eat the plant leaves and then they increase in size. Initially, it will be with milk and then carried over by the leaves. Elephant also same, they are herbivores. They eat only the leaves, and that much 4 tons comes from just eating the leaves and or the stem. That's all. Their diets are composed primarily of plant material. That is what we mean by saying herbivores. They come under the herbivore category. And this is something that everyone should understand. They typically spend more than 1/3 of their time, that is of the 24 hours, a little more than 24, a little more than 1/3, that is 1/3 means 8 hours, grazing. 1/3 of their time ruminating, that is after grazing, they may be chewing in the total 24 hours. Not that from 5 to this much time they will graze. No, in the full 24 hours, totally 8 hours they will be grazing, 8 hours they will be chewing, and another 8 hours they will be neither chewing nor grazing, just idling. This is how they perform. This is their normal routine. This is what they do. This is very important, you should know, because their feeding time is only 8 hours. And you should see that they get in that 8 hours. So if they have gone out for grazing, yesterday we understood if there is hairy coat, it means they are undernourished. So you see on the left side, hairy coat. And where the arrow is showing, that is this triangular area, it is inside the here comes the rumen. So gut fill, that means how much has been filled. After this grazing, it is not at fill. This should get filled like this. You shouldn't see that triangle. That is, it is filled. This is how they should be after the grazing. And this fellow should be doing what he is doing. That is how it is. This cow is not well fed. There is some reason. It is, see the hairy coat. So this is, you should be able to say. You may be visiting a Goshala and you will see all the cows with hairs and you will think that it is normal. No, it's not normal. Something wrong. The calf also you should see and then audit. Whether I should take the milk from here or the audit, or whether they are doing it fine, or if they are not doing it fine, educate them, tell them that this is how the thing is going on. This hairy coat shows that the cow is not healthy. They have to be fed well. So now let us see what is told in the Shastras regarding grazing. See this particular sloga which says, morning strains of mantras, when heard being recited at Agnihotras. You all know at what time Agnihotra is recited, at the correct time of sunrise and sunset. So when that sound of Agnihotra is indicates, it is the time to release cows to go to pastures for, that is important, for self-feeding, not to be fed. They are going for self-feeding. So when should they be sent for grazing, or when should their routine start? As soon as you hear the mantra, that is just after the sunrise, they should be out. What you should understand is cows are self-feeders. By grazing, they are working for us through the process of animal impact. That we will understand. Then the next sloga says, stall feeding is harmful. How? One who keeps cows at home to feed, that is important. He is keeping the cows at home to feed, even after hearing the morning mantra, Pada suffers in life. Suffering, what is the suffering is the expense. That will come in the coming part. It will come. What will happen if the cows don't graze? How he is going to suffer? This epidemic or pandemic is one such suffering. That those diseases, many, the chronic diseases is one such suffering of not sending them for self-feeding. That you will understand in the coming sessions. The function of grazing is their utility. If they are not grazing, they become a liability. You know, all goshalas trying to feed them, it's a huge liability. They know to feed. We should know to graze them. If we know to graze them, then we should be knowing their function. So in the grazing land, how do they behave? They herd self indicates the time for her to go back to the home from help from her master. They will say, when their gut is filled, they will say, okay, we'll go. They will all, the team leader will stand and then he will say, we'll go, and they will all follow the grazer. They will come and tell the grazer, actually. You will see the grazer knows. They will look at him and he will come to the grazer. The main leader will come and lick here and there. And then he will understand, okay, they are filled, and then they decide to move. That is the relationship. It happens in a herd. So as long as the cows like to feed in pastures, they represent community assets. That means grazing cow is a community asset. The Gochar Bhumi, cow itself is a community asset. The cow should be moving in a herd, even it belongs to X number of people, but their movement, their ownership should be a community one. And so the more time they spend means the quality is good, and that means the community asset. They have that particular community, the cows are so happy, they have good assets. When cow wants to retreat from pastures, they indicate it by many signs that I told you in the last slide. So now that is the routine, that 8 hours, the time early morning, they should be out and they will come back when they are filled. And what all decides when they stop the grazing will be coming in the coming slides. See, now you see two digestive systems. One, the left one is of the bird and the right one is of the cow. For the cow and the bird or human beings, we have a stomach. But in the case of the cow, the stomach is in four divisions, 4 parts are there. Why it is 4 parts? It is to manage what they are eating. We don't eat the same thing that they are eating. So they need a different system. And finally, the first 3 chambers processes the grass that it eats and makes it into a form so that the last one, that is the abomasum, is able to digest. Abomasum and our digestive system are same. So the first 3 are the processing of whatever they eat, and then it finally reaches the last chamber. For the bird also, they are eating, what are they eating? They are eating the grains and they eat the stones, insects and all. No? And you see one organ there, that bottom one, left bottom, that is called the gizzard. It is so hard muscular thing. And once it comes there, it starts to contract, and the grain and the stones, they help in grinding it and made into paste, and then it goes. So what is that we need to understand? This is how we understand the perfection creation. He has designed a particular animal to eat. This means he has designed a digestive system for it. We needn't provide anything there. It is already intact. The system is perfect and purna. This is how the feeding system is. So in each compartments have a specialized function in the process of digestion. This is how the cow system is. See, this is something many of you may not be knowing. Even though we say that in a cow is so auspicious, but Krishna didn't give the upper. You see the upper incisors, it is missing. Only the bottom is there. Upper is missing. They were not given it. The remaining part is there, but the upper teeth is not there for a cow or for a ruminant. Why? Why is it that they were not given that? There is a reason why. Here again, I'm telling, there is a function why the cow is not given teeth here. It simply means, now you can, you take a banana, you are eating means you, with the both you bite it. That is how we chop. For them, it is like how we cut vegetables. One is like the knife is like the teeth, and the other one is just a board. Here, that is this a cutting board here. So what does it mean when it is like this? This is designed like this so that it is designed to eat only a particular part of the grass. It is not designed to eat the whole grass. It is designed to eat which part, can you say, when it is like this? Like, for example, you are taking a bindi, the lady's finger, and one which is tender, no? It is very easy to cut. But one which is so, hard, no? That is, which is over ripened. Is it easy to cut? It is a bit difficult. And we will even reject it. That is how it is. No, the same way they are not supposed to be thriving on, their digestive system is not designed to thrive on that fully mature one. It is supposed to be on the tender grass. This particular species is designed to forage or to procure the tender part of the grass or plants, whichever it is. So what do they need to survive? It is located on the tip of the plants. That is energy on the tips. That is why cattle graze the tips. If you have observed, they will be grazing the tips only. They are biologically designed. This is important. Please understand. This is a major thing that you should understand. They are biologically designed to perform optimally by consuming the upper 1/3 to upper half of the grass. That is what they are meant to. See, the horses, the donkeys and all, they have the top upper grass also. The remaining part is for them. That is, yesterday someone asked, no, why can't we graze the horses? Yeah, we can graze them. There are different parts of the. This particular cow is, they are usually sent first. They will eat the tips, and then the other cows, other animals follow, because they are designed for the tip and the bottom. But for the cow, they are designed only for the tips. Please understand this. We will miss the whole story if you don't understand this. When their movement is restricted in pastures, that is, you are not moving them, you are keeping them the same pasture daily, today, tomorrow. Out of sentiments, we protect cows and we keep them in the same land. What is happening? They then go to the remaining part. The first day they will eat the tips. Then they will go to the remaining part. Further on, if there is no access to new tips, they again feed on the same grass, which leads to overgrazing of that plant and reduction in the health of the cow, because they are not designed for the bottom part. They are designed for the upper part. And then you all know, you might have pruned some plants in your life. How do you prune? Today, if you prune, tomorrow will you prune? You will give some time for that plant to regrow, and then only you prune. This is the basis of grazing. The top part is what the cow wants. The bottom part is what the grassland wants. It needs to be pruned. At the same time, it needs time to regrow. So a ruminant with the mouth, with the tongue, it gathers the grass and just pulls it. I'll show you in the video how they pull the grass. That is like you pluck the tea leaves, no? You just hold it and just pluck it. That is just pulling only. Hold and pulling. Then when it reaches the mouth, saliva is added with it, and then it is taken down. And that saliva is also needed for there's a function for that saliva, for the digestion and for the controlling the pH of the rumen fluid, because the fermentation causes more acidity, and it is this rumination that controls the acidity here. So this is prehension, how it is being taken inside. This you should know. So now when is it that it is ready to graze? The best, so you know that it is the tip that they eat. So when is it ready? When you look at in your grassland, is the tip of the grass touching the belly? Here you see, this is the belly of the cow, and the grass is touching the belly. Now you can send them there. And to what height they should eat? To the knee height. This is the knee, and this is what is meant for them. This upper third or upper half. This is what is meant for them in the proper grazing, not below that. This is how it should be. See, this is in Jaipur. See, more than 30 centimeter height of the grass should be there when they are sent for grazing. See the belly height, and you have sent them there, and they will all be eating from the tips. But now, just imagine, where are your cows grazing? It is seen like this, no? The left one, they have not even, something is there. Yesterday you grazed there, day before yesterday you grazed there. In this situation, how much grass can they get in 8 hours? But if it is 30 centimeters and belly height, they will get plenty in little time. And then they are filled and they will decide to go back. If livestock are continually allowed to restrict grass growth, that is, you do not give the recovery time, that is photosynthesis, then carbon levels in the soil fall. Soils with low carbon levels produce less grass than soils with higher levels. That also we understood. The quality of the grass is dependent upon the photosynthetic rate and the photosynthetic capacity. So here you see, in such a grassland, daily sending them there, what to do? They have the tendency of walking, so they will be not grazing here. It will be that R is missing, gazing here, not grazing. Both are different. Just think how is your grazing going on? Many people have sent in the group, I am sending them for grazing, but actually it is gazing. Grazing is different. It's a different, totally different science. It is to be done. Intelligence is needed. See, this is what will happen if you send them to the same place. No? You decide whatever you want. That's called preferential grazing. What will they do? They will eat the grass which they like. And what will come there? The grass which they do not like will be coming up. And even anywhere you go, if you see such a plot, you should immediately say, there is continuous grazing here in this property. That is how you read. This is ecosystem literacy. When you see such a property, you should say, continuous. Here also, when you say, you should say the right word, oh, it is continuously grazed. That is what you should say. And then you can very well know the cow's condition will be very poor. The milk yield, everything will be very, very poor. Now we'll just see this video. You can observe how they are grazing. See, they with the tongue, they pull the tip and pull it. See, pull. So we count the bites, in 1 minute, how much bites they take.
And so we're leaving a huge soil structure. I mean, you notice something about that kind? See the flies on it?
See, in this particular, see the shiny coat, no flies on the body. This person moves them periodically. See, this is how they should graze. Self-feeding. So you should count how many bites they take in 1 minute so that they can harvest a lot of grass in this 8 hours. You take them somewhere. If you take them to the same place, what is it that they will do in 8 hours? And then you will say, no, milk, I should get my milk. But the cow grazing, it's not my concern. This is what is happening. And if you want to really drink milk, you should hear this sound. The cows are grazing. That sound when they pluck that grass, you should have heard it.
And everybody talks about, oh, take your yearly heifers and put them on the grain and flush them.
See, this is another plot, it was the elephant grass or the Napier grass was grown. And in that plot, in the left side plot, we send the cows there for grazing. See what happened. They only ate the tips. What do? We cut from the bottom, chop it and feed to them, no? The cow grazed the tips of the elephant grass. Even if it's elephant grass, what people do, elephant grass, you'll get tons for home. Cow doesn't want that ton. It wants only the tip. This is what is happening in many goshalas. We see now that cow, it is growing 7 feet, 10 feet. For what? They only want the upper tip. If you are keeping a cow, if it's some other animal, okay. If you are growing that grass for the cow, then you should have given it only them. They only want the tips. Then there is a way of doing it. And they know to eat also. You take them, this is how they eat. They don't want the bottom. And chaff cutter, why? This is what you say, there is no need for inventions. We are inventing it. Why? Because we do not know the complexity. So we found out, oh, there is no teeth on the top. Oh, there is something wrong in the creation. He forgot to give a teeth. Okay, then I will make a designer thing so that, that benefit will also come. Absence of upper incisors is not a defect in creation. There's a purpose in creation for that. Now what we do? We chop that whole thing, the bottom part. If it is dry grass, also jowar and all top, and we feed to the cow. The cow is not nourished. Do you know what will get nourished? The dung will be nourished. You will get more dung, not the health of the cow. You don't expect much from this. But when you milk, you want the whole. There will be never excess milk in such a situation. If the calf is kept with the cow, nothing, no drop you will get excess. If you are feeding them the upper third, super. Upper half, okay. Below from that, it's an underdeveloped country. So now after taking it, what they do is, so first they have swallowed it and then unswallowed. They will bring it back to the mouth and they will re-chew it. Again, they will chew it and then again they will swallow it. That process is called rumination. That is what you see the cows in a day for about 8 hours, they will be doing this. Whatever they have eaten, they will do this. You should understand that when they go out for grazing, they do this eating fast because in herd animals, there is always a predator somewhere. So they are in a hurry. They will eat fast, no preferential grazing. Whatever is planned, they will eat all the tips. And then they will go to a safe place and then they sit there or stand there and start to chew. This is the process that happens. This enables cow to chew grass more completely, which improves the digestion. They then, in that grinding, they will, like you make kashaya from the leaves, you have to grind it properly so that the juice comes out. That is what that rumination does. Why? Then it goes down for microbial digestion. There are microbes that are waiting to digest it. Before that, they should be properly grinded and sent. A lot of mixing and churning happens during this part of digestion. This is what happens in that rumination. You see the cow chewing, and this is what is happening there. So you understood that what the cows want. They want the tip of the grass. What does the grasslands want? They want a massive stomach. Because the grass that has come, the biomass that has come after the rain, it has to be recycled. Otherwise, that they cannot grow again. It has to be removed from there. They need a massive stomach. That means a herd of herbivores. Without animal digestion, there is no soil. We understood in mineral cycle, it has to be recycled. Otherwise, finished. You may put fire and many things you'll have to do. It has to be recycled because the function of the landscape is to recycle. The function of eating in all the 84 lakh species, we are helping in recycling the food. That is how you have to see even eating. It is recycling only, So that recycling. So without animal digestion, there is no soil, and without soil, there is no future. So this has to happen. See, this is the inner part of the rumen. This is one cow which had some problem when we did the postmortem. What we saw was all the maize that the cow ate is there in the rumen, but the other part is properly grinded. Even though they have all the teeth, everything, but they couldn't grind the grain. They are not birds. They don't have beak. They can only eat grass. That is how they are designed. This is the first organ, first part of the digestive system. So here we are actually feeding the rumen microbes. Grass, when you're feeding the cow, you are feeding the things, the life inside, that is whom you are feeding. So you should feed what they like. That is, if the cow eats, feed that her rumen bacteria utilize, the population will grow. Whose population? The like you see in the soil, we want the soil life to grow. Here also we want the rumen population to grow. So we have to feed accordingly. Then only, like how soil performs, the cow, if you want the cow to perform adequately, the rumen microbes should perform. That rumen life should be better. So as the life grows, they'll digest more food, more recycling will take place. But if it doesn't eat what her rumen bacteria utilize, then they have no scope for existence. And that is why those who rear the cow, they say, we feed the bugs, not the animal. Like, we don't feed the soil, we feed the soil life. Same way, the cow also, we feed the rumen life. That is what the health of the rumen life is same as, the health of what is rumen to the cow, the soil is to the plant. The soil life decides the health of the plant. The rumen life decides the health of the cow. It is related. And by grazing and by dunging, the cow is providing the culture for the soil. By eating the grass, it is getting the culture for the rumen. This process has to take place. Otherwise, no soil. This relationship of cow to microorganisms is parallel to the dependence of plants on soil microorganisms. to make nutrients available. See, house of bugs, the soil life, lot of life is there. We are feeding them. The cow also, see the difference. In one spoon, you have more than the human population. That much life is there. In the case of cow, that rumen fluid, it is almost 40 gallons, 160 liters. In that 1 milli, just 1 ml, has 10 times the life on earth, human beings on earth. That is, the life is there. You have to increase that. A simplified system is a degraded system. Is a degraded system, be it in human gut, animal gut, or this one, wherever it is. Even in ours also, we were previously thinking there are some enzymes, digestion. Now it is all changed. It is the gut bacteria that decides your health. So you should feed the gut microbes. That is microbiome. If you want to understand more, refer to microbiome. Then you will understand more. There is specific number of species, specific numbers in different parts of our digestive system. That decides how what you think even, and how you behave, and how your health. Everything is decided by this life. This is what we have to feed. And biodiverse fodder. That is how it is. The more biodiverse, the more microbial diversity. Because different types they're getting, that decides the health of their lives. Because what is the main thing that decides the health, even if it's a dewormer or what medicine and everything? It is the plant secondary metabolites that we studied, in the function of the plants. They are needed. That is what decides their life. No medicine life. If you want by grazing on diverse fodder only, you can get it. So these are the other parts of the cow's intestine. See, the same cow which had died, all the parts, you see that grains were there. It cannot digest grains. It doesn't have a beak or a gizzard. It has a rumen. And it doesn't have teeth on top, so it has to eat the tips. This is the science when you own a cow. So now we need to know how much should we feed. How do you decide how much we have to feed a cow? Its digestive system, it is dependent on the dry matter. How much dry matter do they eat? Dry matter means you're taking some grapes and you are making it into kismis. So actually this same grapes has been made into kismis. What is the difference? In one there is water, the other one there is no water. So dry matter means grass without water. That's dry matter. So how much dry matter should a cow need, or how much does she need when you are feeding them? The same principle applies when you're grazing them also, but when you're feeding them, you should be knowing this. The dry matter is a nutrient content available once water is removed from the food, and it is inclusive of carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. Only thing that is missing is the water. Otherwise, everything is there, like milk powder or kismis or grains. They have removed the water, we have dried and kept. It is still having all the other nutrients. Cows need 2 to 3% of their body weight. If they are 400 kg, then they need 8 to 12 kg dry matter per day. The green grass has 20% average. They have 20%. So how much should they eat then? That means 400 kg cow, if the 20% dry matter is there, then they should be eating 40 to 60 kg of grass. Tips, they want the tips. So upper half. Tips means upper half. Daily, if they are to be maintained only on fodder. That means to get 8 to 12 kg, they have to feed on 40 to 60 kg grass. For 40 to 60 kg grass is what they need. If the 20% dry matter is there, see, I don't get confused. Like you need 8 to 12, and the grass has 20% dry matter. That means if you feed 100 kg, there is only 20 kg dry matter in it. That is the meaning. So that means 5 times 8 into 5, 12 into 5 is the grass that is needed to get this 8 to 12. But the cows are designed to eat only the upper half. So then how much should we give? 40 to 60 kg grass tips come from 80 to 120 kg of whole grass. Then only you are feeding them. Otherwise, we are starving them. That you should understand. Then if you are feeding them crop residues after paddy straw or channa straw, whatever it is, then they should be given only the upper third of that dry one, because there is no, the grain has been formed, there is no nutrients much. Only the upper third should be given of the crop residues recommended. So to get 8 to 12 kg of that upper third, you may have to feed 24 to 36 kg of diverse crop residue, not one type, not just paddy straw alone. It should be diverse. There should be different types of crop residues. This is the requirement per day if you want to take care of them properly. Or if you want to expect excess milk, this is how you have to feed them. If you don't feed them like this, then separate the calf, and then only you will get the milk. This you should understand. So in case it is too bad a fodder, see, we all, you know, all our paddy fields are flooded, no mineral cycle, all the paddy straw is sold, no mineral cycle, no energy flow, no biodiversity. So every year, the quality of fodder or the quality of the crop residue is going down. So what should we do? This year you are feeding, next year is worse. So in such a case, you may even have to give supplements like some grain powder or something you may have to feed to keep them alive. That is needed. But when you are grazing on properly moved fodder, you needn't worry about all this. Still, that quantity is needed. That we understood, no, at what height they should be grazed. Then it is easier for you to manage. See, this is based on the guna, that is sattvic, rajo, and tamo guna. The cow is it's to be understood to be in sattva guna. So I'm just classifying the grains like maize, rice, etc. You can get only in the dried form, so it is not wholesome. So it comes under the rajasvic quantity. Oil seed cakes, that is a remnants. No? It is dried, not wholesome, and it is remnant. So it comes under the tamasvic or rajasvic quality. Green fodder, that is when grazing, it is wholesome and juicy. It comes under the sattvic. Paddy straw, it is dried, not wholesome. So that comes under the rajasvic and tamasvic. Salt, minerals, vitamins, they all are synthetic in many cases. So it is not wholesome. So it is rajasvic or tamasvic. Jowar, maize, paddy fodder, which is fed fresh. That is fresh fodder of any this jowar or maize, that is also wholesome. So it is called, it comes under the sattvic. A cow which is sattvic, if you feed them rajasvic or tamasvic, don't expect her to give you sattvic product of milk or anything. See, then by the grazing, you just see how it is. When they graze, we understood that they should be eating only the upper half or upper 1/3. Why? If they by eating, if they have removed 10% of the leaf volume, then the root stoppage, that root growth will not stop. But if they come to 50%, from 50% of the grass, if you have eaten, then there starts the root also gets cut. And when more fully eaten means the 100% of root growth, it affects the root growth. You see on the right side, proper grazing, the roots will be so deep. What is the benefit of this? This makes the rainfall more effective. That is, when they eat, that is the design of cow. When you graze, you get a better rainfall. So effectiveness of rainfall. That is why it is all linked. That is why you say complexity. When you keep them in the stall, you are missing it. That is why I told a person who keeping in the stall, even after hearing the morning from mantra, suffers in life. Because everything finished. Water cycle gone. Then from where will you get the water? They have to be on the grazing line. See, 50% grass used, no problem. 70% of the grass removed means the root length also reduces. 90% further reduced. Water infiltration, everything will be affected. That is when this is some principle that we need to see. Mature plant ready to be grazed. The second one, the animal has grazed plant severely with most leafy material gone. Plant is unable to convert the sunlight energy it needs to grow because photosynthesis, there is no leaf remaining. So then, thus the plant mobilizes energy from the crown, that is the root mass, that part where connects the plant, the stem and the root, that is the crown. and it starts to get the energy that is stored there, and it starts to grow. Leaves are beginning to grow on energy from crown and roots. If animal returned now, what will happen? If it didn't allow the the plant to fully grow, and they come now and eat, again it has not regrown. So what happens? It will be overgrazed. It will be affected because now its growth started with the root storage, and immediately when little came, you ate means the root storage also over, the grass growth fully affected. So leaves, and the next one is the leaves are now converting enough sunlight energy not only to grow, but also to re-establish the roots, the energy that it took from the roots. If animal return now, plants would be, again, if they come now also before the root energy has been restored, again it is overgrazing. Leaves are fully grown, regrown, and nearly all roots have been re-established. If animal return now, plant would not be overgrazed. Contains fresh yellow fodder. Yellow fodder means at that stage, when it is fully ready, the bottom leaves start to get yellow. So that is how you decide when to come back to graze. So this is a law in grazing. The first law, this 4 laws of grazing applicable universally wherever you are. This is the law. Before a sward means the green leaves. Sheared means the cut with the animal's teeth, can achieve its maximum productivity. Sufficient interval must have elapsed between 2 successive shearings to allow grass to regrow. That means once you have cut, today you have cut the grass, cut means the cow has eaten, then you should give sufficient time for that to regrow. Don't bring the cow there. Give the time to recover and then only bring it there. Because many other complex things are happening there. We are only looking cow, grass, milk. No, there are many things that you have to see. The second law is that the total occupation period in one area that you have selected should be sufficiently short for a grass sheared on the first day of occupation, not to be cut again by the teeth of these animals before they leave the paddock. That is, when you decide, today I'm going to keep this part in this area. I will keep them there for 2 days. I will give the area for 2 days or 3 days. Okay, then let them be here for 3 days or 4 days, you decide. But it should be shorter. The shorter, the better. Because, why shorter? There is always chance for them to come and bite it again. Shorter, mean the time you keep in a particular area is less, means the biting also will be less and the regrowth will be fast. Third law is the animals with the greatest nutritional requirements must be helped to harvest the greatest quantity of grass of the best possible quality. The best possible quality is on the tips. So the cows, growing calves, should be sent first, and they should be eating the tips, and then only the remaining, which doesn't need much energy to be brought. It's all planning. That is what you should be doing. Fourth law: if a cow is to give regular milk eat, this is very important. If you want regular milk eat in that particular way, she must not stay any longer than 3 days. That is, if you keep in a place, you have decided, this fodder is there for 3 days, okay, you keep. But if you keep them for more than 3 days, then the milk yield will be affected. That means the milk yield is dependent on how much tips you give, not on how much quantity you give. How much quantity is important, but how much tips are there in that. That decides the how much milk you will get. You need to see many things, not by just separating the calf. You have to take milk. Produce excess milk, then it makes sense. When does overgrazing occur? When the plant is exposed to animals for too many days and they are around to regraze it as it tries to grow. The plant tries to grow, again it comes and bites. The same thing happens. This will come. Second one is when the animals move away from but return soon. You didn't give them time to regrow the plant again while it is still using stored energy to reform the leaf. That is also wrong. We shouldn't do that. When animals move in immediately, so this is another very thing that happens everywhere. During the summer season, the grass is not growing, it is dormant. Suddenly a rain comes, slowly some sprout will come. Immediately the cows will be sent there for grazing. It shouldn't happen. It should grow to the what height? It should grow to the height of the belly. And then only you should take them there. Otherwise, do you know what you will miss? See, this photosynthetic pump or the liquid pump is taking place only during the growing season of the grass, as soon as the rain. That time, if you don't permit the plants to grow, that biomass to grow, you miss the liquid carbon. Your humus in your full property will be less. Don't cut anything when it is started, the monsoon starts. Don't do that. You can chop everything, but once the monsoon has started or the grass has come, permit it to grow to a certain height. That is the time you get the liquid carbon on your land. Don't miss that. Allow it to grow. Whichever plant grows, let it grow. The diversity you need. That's because you are feeding the soil life. That is important. So now comes to another important thing. How many cows? See, in a community or in a village or in a nation, there is no need for stocking rate. But when you reduce the community or the village into community, then community to person, my land, then you should be knowing about the stocking rate. The stocking rate issue was even there during the rule of the kings and all, because you have heard they have a tendency, a practice of donating cows, lakhs numbers they'll be donating. Once the cow, they'll be the herder will come and tell to the king, now the number is high, we have to do some donation. So immediately he will visit, like our prime minister goes, he will visit some other kingdom, and he will assess what is their situation, and he will say, okay, I will donate you 1 lakh cows. So he is benefiting from, both are benefiting. The other person gets some more animals, and he gets his stocking rate reduced, because it will affect the whole system. So the long term, see, what is stocking rate? Is the long term carrying capacity of your land. How much time you can feed the life on the landscape. Not only cows, all the landscape, all the livestock, all the biodiversity has to be fed. No, or the total number of cows that can be reared in your farm sustainably without purchase resources. You cannot purchase from, if you are purchasing something from another place, you are degrading that land. No, so you cannot be purchasing. Our aim is our context. So we have to take decisions accordingly. So you cannot think of purchasing from outside. We have to generate our own from outside, and at the same time feeding all other beings in the farm. You are also a being in the farm. The cow kept in your farm means you should feed the cow and all the life, the micro life. That means 1 teaspoon has more than the human population. They have to be fed. The plants have to be fed. The birds have to be fed. All the life forms, moving and moving, all the moving life forms in your landscape has to be fed, including you, including me, has to be fed. That is the stocking density, stocking rate. How many cows can I keep so that everything happens? Don't think of the cow alone. Everybody has to feed. Then otherwise, it is a bad name for the cow. No, it is dependent on the effectiveness of the 4 ecosystem processes, which recovery period of grass. In how much time does the grass recover? That depends on your rainfall, or whether it's brittle or non-brittle. It is many other factors are needed for the recovery. So these things are needed. What is it? Is the ecosystem process functioning? What is the recovery period of grass in your area? That means once it is bitten, in how many days does it regrow? That is very important. Based on that only, we can decide how many cows can be kept on your land. So that means recovery period of grass, that is in how many days once bitten grass shall regrow to the same stage. That these details are needed to determine the stocking rate. So we will just calculate the stocking rate now. In this particular case, two types of soil. That is, the first one is the left one is that the recovery period, it has been found out, it's an average full year in 90 days. See, during the rainy season, the recovery period may be fast, but we have to calculate the full 365 days, how many days it regrows. So in certain areas, like Kerala, it is somewhere maximum maybe 90 days. Or in non-brittle areas like Singapore, or those areas where rain is frequent, it can be even less. So just take 90 days. The data you have collected is 90 days. And another place like Jaipur and all, no, upper North India, it may be even 365 days because there is a severe summer there. And then we understand that, you know, by different experiments that, you know, minimum, if the grass is full, like our hair, no, full grass, in all the land, full all over the landscape, there is full grass, and it has grown up to the height of the belly, then usually a 75 square meters of such a grass is sufficient for a 400 kg cow. That is the requirement, 75 grams. If it is too bad, it may go to 100. It can even go to 30 acres. I mean, such a degrade. Deserts and all, it may even go to 30 acres may be needed for one cow to survive for a year. That means there is no growth in between. So here we are taking 75 as the minimum that is needed, and 90 days is the the recovery period. Then it is equal to 1.7 acres per cow. That is, you can keep in a 10 acres, that is the deciding the stocking rate based on recovery period of grass for 10 acres. If in that 10 acres, the recovery period is 90, then you can keep 5 to 6 cows sustainably. And at the same time, we are also being fed, all the life is being fed. You can grow your crops, you can feed the cows, everything will happen if it is 5 to 6 cows per 10 acres in a land where the recovery period is 90 days. In dry areas where, in heavy brittle areas, it's 365 days, you can keep only maybe 1 or 2 cows per 10 acres. But there is one thing, as the ecosystem services improve by proper grazing, the stocking rate also increases. You'll be like, you know, as it improves, maybe this 5 to 6 cows can be 7 cows, 8 cows, 10 cows as it goes. It is like, you know, you have owned another 10 acres. It becomes like you have owning 20 acres. So this process improves. Then now only it makes sense to understand, no, the more you grow, the more fertile it becomes. Because, you know, this has to, the recovery, bite recovery, all those systems has to, the recycling of minerals, everything has to take place. Then only it makes sense to understand the Vedic paradigm. So just decide now, if you are taking the worst condition, wherein you can keep only 6 cows in 41 acres of land, that is the 365-day stocking rates situation, 365-day recovery period situation. So now it is this 41 acres and you have 6 cows. Now you are leaving them freely. You know that they can eat the grass. 41 acres is there, so you go and live freely. This is called continuous grazing. Better than this would be, you divide that property into 2. 6 months in one area, 6 months in the other area. What's the benefit of this? You will have that 6 months, the other one area will be, they'll get more tips, no? They move to the other one, they'll be getting more tips. And you can even decide of growing something on the other side. You will get a planning process, you can plan. Just imagine you are again dividing it into 4. That means in this case, it is 365 days is the first one. Another one is 6 months, 6 months. Then again, if you cut into 4, it is becoming 3 months and you get 4 plots. And the last plot, you can, once you finish the first plot, you can grow something there because you will come back only after 9 months. So that many planning. See, again, if you further divide, same 6 cows, a further divide, you get a better opportunity to manage. This is what you call planned grazing in a property. You're planning the grazing by making it shorter. You have to decide this many days here, this many days here. You know the principle, no? You have to reduce the time in one plot. Likewise, you plan and go. So the remaining areas, you know, where you will be reaching after 9 months, you will be finishing your annuals there. And that annuals there, your crop residue will be waiting there to be grazed by the cow. So that is planned grazing. Unintended consequences if the stocking rate is not right, high stocking rate. It is difficult to give sufficient recovery period for grass, hence grass productivity is affected as overgrazing ensues. So you will spoil the grassland. As a result of spoiling of the grassland, the efficiency of liquid carbon pathway of humus formation also gets affected. your soil fertility keeps decreasing. Dependence on external inputs to feed, you will have to spend money on purchasing from outside. It's a non-contextual decision as it shall affect the future performance of the landscape, because we want in another 100 years, you want that landscape to be performing better than today. So that will be getting affected. And manure recycling also gets affected, because you have to come, again means the manure is there. So that will increase the insect pressure on the animals, and it will be a nuisance there. You have to be knowing about the stocking rate. I'll just show you a video of the farm where Deepti Mataji is managing. These are about more than 100 bulls, non-castrated bulls. She has divided the whole property into paddocks. And now today morning, this particular bulls are coming from the paddock they were in the night to the new paddock for performing their functions. The audio is there?
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Those who are taking the videos and all, no selfie and all, they are the participants of the course.
Prabhu, Muksu Prabhu.
Which place is this?
Jaipur, Jaipur. Deepti Agarwal's property.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Agarwal Organic Farm.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama.
I'm just showing how she is doing. You can do it your way. But they have to be moved to fresh pastures.
Total, how many bulls and how much area for these bulls in each paddock?
See, this is about 109 bulls. We decided know how much area is needed per bull for one bull, for an acre bull, how much area is needed.
Yeah, we discussed, but it is a dry area, so Jaipur is a dry area.
So it is 365 days. No, the recovery period is 365 days.
Yeah. So what is the paddock area approximately? Each paddock area?
Prabhu, that is how you plan. No, total area.
I agree.
75 into number of cows.
So 110 bullocks, and it was 1 or 2 cows per acre.
Yes.
So it should be, each paddock is a 50-acre paddock.
No. How can
Huh?
75 into 100? How much? 7,500 square meters. It is just less than 2 acres. No.
2 acres per how many bulls?
100.
That's not. Can you go back to the earlier slide where you showed the 365 calculation?
Yes.
So in the 365, you are saying 6 to 8 acres per cow.
Yes.
So 10 acres will support.
So how many acres you will need for a 100 cow, 100 animals?
100 animals. So that means for each cow, if you need 6 acres, it's coming to 600 acres.
Yes. They have that is how it is. In a area like that, this 100 cows are supposed to be managing 600 acres.
So that means each paddock is, that's what I'm asking. So,
Exactly.
So it's a 600 acres means each
need,
paddock.
No. You need a 600 to 800 acres for managing.
And what is the
She doesn't have that much.
What is the farm size?
It is this particular farm is only 40 acres.
40 acres. And they are having 110 bulls.
So what will happen?
And no cows are there?
That is
In
another,
addition to,
that is another farm.
That another farm. So it is 110 bulls, 40 acres, and made into how many paddocks?
No, see, when it is 40 acres and 110 cow itself, the stocking rate is high. No,
Yes.
it won't. Your paddock system won't work here.
Okay. So how do they work?
What is the message? What is the message? This is the message.
Sell the bulls.
No. The message is your unintended consequence that will not be good for the betterment of the or the quick development of that land.
So how do they solve the problem? Is
Yeah,
what
that will come tomorrow. That I'll show you tomorrow. This is how it should be. Now you know how it should be.
Okay.
Understood. But the rate has to be right, otherwise it won't work. See, initially itself, Deepti Agarwal had told my stocking rate is high.
Okay.
Prabhu, I think from Ravi Prabhu's question, even I had, I mean, we are taking this as a model form, which is a perfect model.
No. This is not a perfect model. This is not a perfect model.
Okay.
This is only a model wherein her number is high. Now she is trying to talk with the community people there, the village there, and trying to expand her property.
All right, thanks.
That is the solution. Now, if you are, that is why I'm continuously telling you, work as a community. The cow belongs to the community. That we have realized, and so now she is training the local people there about these things. She's trying to get a herder there. So all those things are being. She's trying to get it done. But still, with the limited requirement, so now we have to manage the whole show now. That we will be showing tomorrow, how it is being managed. Please don't take it as a model. This is not a model. This is only, we can only, you see, DPG always says, when you come to my farm, you are learning what you should not do.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know.
Understood. She daringly agrees that I went wrong in my decision making with respect to keeping the cows for milk. That is why this happened. Initially, she started as a dairy. And later on, she realized that if dairy is going, it will be worse. So then she shifted her decision, changed her decisions, and now she's managing in such a way that she's looking for right people who can, to whom this cow can be given, because he's not finding anyone around. That is why she is now doing many training programs so that more people come forward and keep cows this way, so that their system, like the king goes, their system and her system also gets better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
And if Prabhu, if you don't mind, the economics of it of managing these 110 bulls should be
money. See, that we have discussed. No, see, read this. What is written on the third one? Dependence on external inputs to feed, which shall affect the farm economically.
Okay.
That is why you see in many goshalas this donation, but DPG is not running on donation. They have a big company from where the money is coming, and she's managing. Let us not go into your economics.
But I'm worried about small farmer. Yesterday also I raised the same issue.
It's not economically viable.
Okay.
The stocking, this is the message. If the stocking rate is gone, the money gone.
Okay.
Unless and until you work as a community, cow is a community program. It is a herd animal. It is not to be kept as one or two. It has a herd animal. They should move together. The whole community, proper planning, as Nanda Maharaj used to do, a proper planning is needed if you are keeping cows in a community. It's a very complex thing. It's a very complex thing to manage cows. It has to be managed in a particular way, otherwise the whole system will fail. So in Garuda Purana, there is a sloga which says, you just read the highlighted part only. Daily cutting of grass are the causes which may destroy the opulence even of the god Keshava himself. That is, this particular sloga says, even if Keshava is the one who is cutting grass, his opulence will be lost. So then what about our case? Cutting grass is not the way to keep cows. They have to be grazed. If you're cutting grass and feeding the same way that is happening with the indigenous farm also, it is not viable. It will affect your economics and all those things. You need money. That is all what is meant. So such a person and society that keeps its cows in confinement in their homes, suffer fall from grace of learned people and gods. It will not, even your guru or even the Lord will never put grace on you, because you are not doing the right dharma. They have to grace. So that is what this sloga even says. You should now understand the meaning, how it will be affecting. Financially gone. In the previous slide, Garuda Panana, Lakshmi gone. Then what? Barriers in and to pastures, angers the cows. The milk from such cows is likened to poison. You understood now? She's in stress. And the milk also will be accordingly. So when you change how you look at things, the things you look at also change. This is exactly what we want. Milk is not the function of the cows. It is the function of a mother cow. In a herd, only 25% will be milking. Remaining 75% are either the calves, bulls, not milk, pregnant animals, or the cows which are not giving milk. How can that be economic farm? What will you do with the 75%? You're culling them? It won't work. So only when you grace, that is change in seeing all the beings in our ecosystem for their utility, to seeing them for their function. Only when you start to see this animal, cow, for its function, then only that ecosystem or that economy will be okay. That is why in yesterday's class we told a society that has excess milk is a prosperous society. Now you understood why. Because that means the soil is good. The same soil is what is feeding the life of all. Even the human beings are fed from the same soil. If there is excess milk, the soil is good, health is there in that community. That community is prosperous. The more the GDP, the lesser will be the milk you will get. The lesser the GDP, the more will be the milk you will get. So that means they have to graze. That is how in previous times it's a Go Brahmanya. That is how the cows happy. Means, are they able to perform their functions? Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Any doubts on this, I will pass it on to the host to ask for doubts.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for this wonderful session. I request the participants to raise their hands to ask the questions. Yeah, the first question is from Vinod Kumari. Please go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, I'm looking for that answer. How do we plan in a desert area where we get only for 3-4 months? I mean, after that, there is no grass, nothing.
Yeah, that is what I showed today. No, you have to decide the stocking rate.
No, even if you keep, let's say 1 or 2, how do you keep them grazing throughout the year? That is what I wanted to understand. Because then you will have to give them dry stuff.
I understood. So now you first of all understand the stocking rate. That you have understood?
Yeah.
Yeah, the next class will be how to move them. Today also I showed how to move them, but there's little more to understand that I will tell in the next class.
Even this looks like very challenging thing, because nowadays, I mean, people don't own more than, mostly in the villages, not more than 10 acres.
See, the person is not holding, but the village is holding more.
Yeah, village is holding. Yeah,
that
so
is how.
until it's a community. Yeah.
From where do we get the understanding about milk and cow and all? It is from during the Krishna's time is where we always quote, no. There we should understand it is a herding community that manages the cows. It is not individual persons. That is why you have Gujars, Rabaris. They are the ones who are supposed to herd the cows. Yadavas, Konars, in different places, there's a community who are the ones who are grazing the cows. They should come forward. They are the ones who have to be coming and grazing the cows.
Yeah, few communities from like that Badmer side, Banswada, Badmer side, they definitely move, but
Yes.
not the other villages. I have not seen.
Yes,
I mean, people are
Mataji,
visiting one by one.
long back, I have visited Barmer and then I've talked to them. They were all telling, no, long back I used to go to Pakistan, like that they used to say. Now, no, because my children are now engineers.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
What to do? So
So
that
what's the
community, that is why
solution?
Varna
What's the
Shrama, there is a
solution?
community
Yeah.
that are the grazers. They are the ones who can manage the grazing. It is a community program. It's a so complex program. It is not a simple program. There is a lot of things to be planned in grazing and when you keep cows. We are just keep talking about Surya Nadi or we are talking about A1, A2. It is nothing compared to grazing.
Again, here also, Surya Nadi, this what we are discussing is what best can we get from which cow?
Yes. We have to think. You're very good for pointing it out. Actually, it should be how much milk you produced from 1 acre of land, not from one cow.
Yeah.
Not from one cow. If a village has 10 square kilometers, how much milk are you producing? Excess. That decides the prosperity of that community.
Yeah.
Yes. That is what I am telling. That was how it was. Now we are only following the milk paradigm, but not the other things. Mataji, your question will be answered, don't worry.
Okay.
But one more thing, Mataji, see, in this particular thing, you should say how much land you have, and based on that we decide. And you saw in Deepti's farm, she has made paddocks, so it's easy, no, just moving them from one paddock to other. What's the problem?
I was wondering, even if you develop a community, I mean, people where they have five acre this thing. I mean, you can't tell one person that, you know, because in a year you just get crops once. So then you'll have to tell some people saying that next year you won't get it because it will be used as.
No. When you come to that point, we will be cleared. But every inch of the land, the cows will be going. And they will never be starving in this particular system. They will be thriving like anything.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Sure.
That you leave it to me. But
Okay.
now you should understand that there is something called stocking rate. There is something called community program.
Yeah.
It really makes sense to that. Varnashram is not simple a word. There is some sense in it. Now we are just going after that utility cow milk. But we will lose our country, our prosperity, if you go like that. Cows will also die, we will also die.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. The next question is from Krishna Katha, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thanks for this session again, Prabhu. Prabhu, since yesterday we discussed about the cow, and today morning also you gave him you dropped a message on the WhatsApp regarding this 25%. Like we are always focusing on the 25%, but we are not stressing on the 75%. So whenever we discuss about the cow, the only difference is the milk. The bulls, calves, and cows is the milk. So whenever we are saying cow, or whenever we are talking about the utility and function of the cow, it implicitly also means the bulls and calves. If we leave the milk on, if they just keep the milk part aside, it means that whenever we are talking about cow, about the grazing or utility functions and all these things, we are always referring cows, bulls, and calves, I guess, right, Prabhu?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, thanks. And Prabhu, the next thing was the paddocks and barriers thing. From the session, what I understood is that, Prabhu, this the planned grazing is kind of a suboptimal approach, right? At the moment, I mean, we can, as we already discussed, like the area requires is too large, and it's a community thing, and it's not that easy to bring everyone on board, the whole community. But at the moment, the barriers and the grazed planned grazing is a kind of, we are getting there. It's a kind of intermediate solution, right? Prabhu, found it.
Prabhu, we don't need the barriers if we are having the correct stocking rate. We can manage it. When you do not have this, why Deepti had to do this is because her stocking rate was high, so she had to manage the land. That is why it was done.
Okay,
When
so
your
as
stocking
long
rate is less, your barriers can be simpler. You can do it simple ways.
okay, so that means that cows know how to manage this. I mean, they won't do overgrazing if you properly plan your stocking rate. Then
if you know, if the owner also knows the importance of stocking rate, then he can move the cows accordingly.
Okay, yeah. Prabhu, just one last question. So we learned today that the management of cows is more of a community program, and so on. And it's quite difficult, as Mataji, as previously Mataji also mentioned about the same thing. It's quite difficult in the initial stages to convince the community and so on. So therefore, maybe it's more practical if we kind of have a minimum model, let's say a less than 5 acres model of the stocking rate and planning thing, so that we can demonstrate, and then only when we show the practical things, then we can actually pull in the community and so on to convince them. So only when we show the practical results, only then the community will be convinced. So from that perspective, with this, the minimum model thing, like let's say if we do the calculation of the stocking rate for 5 acres or something, but at the same time, it should also consider the good combination that is, as we already discussed, cow is a herd thing, like they like to be in the herds. So what would be the minimum combination of, like, okay, there should be a bull, there should be a calf, and there should be a cow. So
nothing, don't think like that. See, for the management of, is Deepti there in this group?
No, Prabhu. Mataji today, I think she didn't.
Okay. See, the bulls are the best for this.
Okay.
For such, hitting down the overgrowth and all those things, the bulls are the best. So it doesn't matter how it is. But when you plan a cow and a calf, then your stocking rate may go in coming years.
Okay.
So that is why I'm telling, if you are thinking about milk, it is a community program.
Okay. So if milk is not a concern for me, then...
No. I'm telling in general. If the milk is an issue, then it has to be a community program. No, I don't have a community. I have only 10 acres. Then the plan is different.
Okay.
It can be two ways. One is 10 acres. Okay, I'll keep 2 bulls, maximum 2 bulls or something. Or you needn't keep. You can invite another person who has cows.
Okay.
Then also the same effect is there, no? Your neighbor is having 2 cows. So then you tell him, okay, now when his cycle is over, you invite him. You also join him. Okay, from this day, you put them here. Like that you can plan, no?
Yeah.
See, exactly for me, what I am doing is when the cows were here in my property, we were grazing the cows. Now, when they were taken to Belgaum, now what we do is when we come to Kerala, we had a neighbor who was having cows. So once we reach that day itself, we'll call him the phone and say, we have come, please bring the cow tomorrow. So he will bring his cow to my property, and we used to graze them there. When he also sold, then we found another person who gave his cows. Now he told you keep it, when you go only give it back. So that many days he's in our property. It can be done now. I need it all.
Okay, but how does this work in the concept of a family kind of thing, Prabhu, or is there anything like such within? So like a cow is there, and there should be a bull, and it has a cow.
See, that is what I'm telling you. Cow, and if you are thinking of a bull together, then there is increase in number. That is something you have to really understand. Then you need a community. Now you have reduced the complexity to my 10 acres. Then you have to really think.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then you may have to even simplify their herd.
Yeah. Okay. I mean to say, Prabhu, like as you mentioned, like let's say I have bull and you have a cow, and I'll ask like, okay, you can bring in your cow here and so on. Oh. But at the same time, this cow and bull, like maybe, so for example, even as a family, like I cannot keep my child at my place, and I can ask the other child to keep. But there should be a bonding between the brother and sister. I mean, their child and my child. So from this perspective, if we bring in the cows from different person, should there be a kind of bonding between the cows and bulls herding in a particular land? This is from the emotional aspect.
Prabhu, you have not understood the thing. That is why such things.
Okay.
When you are on the land, this will be covered, Prabhu.
All right, Prabhu. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. The next question is from Goloka Chandradas.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Dr. Srikram Prabhu. Just now you mentioned about the stocking rate, and I just related to our previous discussion. The stocking rate and the number of days of regrowth,
Yes.
that can vary according to region.
Yes.
Just now you mentioned 90 days.
As Vamshuli Dasa has reported, recovery rate is connected to the soil carbon and underground biodiversity. That means more soil life, more diversity, recovery rate will be fast.
Okay. So we can even use a shorter number of days than 90 days. Let's say
Yes, definitely. Depend. In Singapore, it is less, Prabhu. In Malaysia and all, it will be lesser.
Okay, doctor. And one more thing, doctor. Just now you mentioned, you showed the slide on the Garuda Purana just about 3 slides ago, I think. I just wanted to view that. Is it okay to just put it on the...
Which one, Prabhu? Which one?
The Garuda Purana slide.
You want that
just
slide? I will send it to your WhatsApp. That will do.
Okay, can, doctor.
You want to discuss anything on in that particular slide now?
Because there is a few other things interesting there now, but I
No. That will take these course in another direction. That is why I didn't discuss the other part.
Okay, I won't discuss
I
here.
will send it to you. Anyway, this PPT will be shared with you.
Okay.
Yeah. All
That
the PPTs
particular
will
slide,
be shared with
that
everyone.
particular slide I will share with you. But if I discuss that, then the discussion will go in another direction.
Yeah, we don't discuss here. Just for my knowledge only on that slide.
I will share.
Okay, thank you very much, doctor.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. The next question is from Smita Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Mataji, please unmute your mic and can ask the question.
Hello, can
Hello.
you hear me?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. I have, namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. I have 3 questions, but they're simple ones. That talking about the emotions of the cow, how it relates, the predator you said, no? Herd, in the herd it is a predator.
Yes.
So does the domesticated cow think of human being as predators, or it will develop some bonding? Will it recognize people who are taking care of it is one question I have. And second question is, how long should be the calf with the mother cow till it is weaned away? I mean, is there a way to know? I mean, at least I don't know. Maybe, so if I would like to know about it. And third would be, if we, right now we are in the process of starting community farms only. We are pooling land together and all. If we have to set up a model farm for cow grazing in a community, how many acres is the ideal size to start with?
So the second one is, what was it? The first one is that, they will recognize the grazer, and that is how you have a community of grazers. No, they are the ones who decide where they should be. That is how it is. But in a natural situation, the movement is decided by the predators. So they will recognize.
Supposing I don't go there every day, I am not with the cow. So, but then in some way I am involved. But does the cow know that these are our
No. When you have domesticated them, you have to direct them. You have to direct them. Otherwise, how can they know? They will do overgrazing, no?
Okay.
So you have to. That is the role of the grazer, no?
Okay.
Even Krishna was doing it.
Hmm.
Then
But,
the second
but
question was, what was the second question?
how long the calf, calf
See,
has to be with,
okay, I will ask you a question. Yesterday we understood what is the real potential of cow's milk. For what is it that milk should do to the calf?
increase its weight.
That means it should attain puberty in this particular time. That is the function of that milk. It has to achieve that particular standing. So as soon as she or he has attained puberty, that is the minimum time they have to be together.
So it's okay to separate them later?
No, once once they have attained puberty, what you should be doing is they can be separated and she should be dried up.
Okay.
Function is over, no?
Hmm.
And the third one is
Third one is
how much land?
For a model farm to start up with the cow grazing on the lines you described today.
Yeah, so then it depends on, see, what are your resources, you should say. Based on that only we can decide. What are your resources? Then what are your intentions? That is your context. What are your intentions? Right? Even once I told before also, all these things should come. Then only you should plan. No, if I simply, how can I chart out a plan? This is how you should do without knowing your resources.
So, but it's we can start somewhere in Karnataka. Is what
agreed. I should be knowing your resource. No, if I tell you you need at least 50 acres, and then you will, you don't know my resource, and how can you say 50 acres? So that it depends on how much land you have, what is the community, how much land can they purchase, or how much land they are ready to give. Based on that only we can decide. No, money, the resource should be known. The decision makers should come. That is how we decide a plan.
Okay, so
like you cannot say like you need to lift to run a factory of producing this much kg of wheat processing. You need a motor of this much power. Like that you can't say with respect to planning biology. It's biology, no. Then you cannot say this much land is needed. There's a lot of planning needed. There's a lot of resource to be collected before coming to that decision.
Okay.
But then if you say now I have 10 acres. And we are hoping for another 100 acres, then you have given the resource, no, this much your capacity to purchase 100 acres. Then you can plan.
Okay.
Come out with how much land you can collectively bring together. Later on, as it increases, again you can increase, no?
Right now in two places it's going on. In Bangalore, 300 acres taken already. In another place, 100 acres together.
So 300 acres now you have. Good. So now you have given me the resource that you have 300 acres now. So now the next data you have to give me is what is the recovery period of grass in your area.
Okay.
Based on that only we can decide how many cows you can keep.
Okay. There's nothing there actually. We just purchased land which is, not so fertile, degraded only to regenerate.
So now in your case, it may not be 75 square meter. It may be 175 square meter or 200 square meters per day, depending on the grass you have there. Based on that only you will decide the stocking rate.
Okay. Okay, I think what I'll do is I will get all these parameters together and share with you. You can start somewhere.
See, it is so complex, Madaji. Planning or managing a landscape, we have to look into many parameters. It is not simple as you just put a button, the light will come. No. It is life that we are playing with. Soil life. How much life? 1 teaspoon is having more than the human population. So then you have to take care of all those things.
Yeah. Yeah, this is nice. We are playing with lives.
Yes. It is. We have to plan. That is why I'm continuously telling context, paradigm.
Right.
That is what should help you to take a decision. That is why we have Vedas. No, it is helping us to take decisions.
Yeah. I will be in touch. I'll start gathering all that. I'll
Yes.
send you pictures.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
No, once you complete the course, you will understand what all data you will need.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll gather.
Yes, ma'am.
Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. The next question is from Karen Shetty.
Yes, Mataji.
Namaste, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Namaste, ma'am.
I just wanted to know, during the rains, will the cow go out and graze? What to do in morning rains when we want to leave the cow out in the mornings and it's raining? Will the cows go out and graze on those days, continuous rainy time?
Definitely they will go.
They will go, is it?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, probably because I have Tarpakar, she will immediately little.
Because you know, for them, the head is not on top; it is the other way. No, there's no issue, no problem. The only thing is if it is heavy rain, they will lower the head and stand. And once it reduces, they will start to graze. But in the afternoon, even if it is heavy rain, they will be grazing.
They will graze because of
because that's very sweet. That time the grass is so sweet.
Okay, because here my person who looks after the cow, he was telling when it's raining and when morning dew is there on the grass, we should not let the cow graze. Is that right?
Nothing. Mataji, if your grass has recovered and is ready, you send them there.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mataji. The next question is from Mamshali Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Once again, the question about which comes first, the recuperation of the grass or improving the soil biodiversity. Like suppose we are doing plant grazing and we begin with one plot in the, like you showed the idea of 8 plots. So by the time we again reach after the first cycle, like how do we ensure? That means how do we ensure that by the time we come back to the first plot, the growth is sufficient that we can handle the herd?
Yeah, that is because we know the recovery rate. No, we are understanding that this grass in this particular grassland, the grass recovers in this many days. So then with that only we are planning. No.
Yes, Prabhu. But what I'm saying is, in the meantime, like we start at point 1, but the quality of the existing, like many of the current lands, they may not have that that kind of quality grass to keep the herd maintained by themselves on that grass for the complete recovery period.
Yes. So in that case, the stocking rate will be even higher. Sorry, lesser.
Yes, we should then barely 1 cow per.
See, I will show you one place where the stocking rate was 300 acres per cow.
Oh.
And now they have brought it down to 30 by plant grazing. Initially, it was like a desert only, so bad, Chihuahua and desert. That in that place, how they did was, it was 300 acres per cow, that much poor, no growth anywhere.
Oh.
And then now that with that proper grazing, now that when they started to give that recovery period for the grass, then the land started developing. Now they have brought it down to 30. It will be even further down now.
Prabhu, can we also do something like supplementing? Like we know the quantity of grass we'll get daily or over a period. Can we supplement by bringing in fodder from outside?
See, this particular stocking rate plan is given that you do not buy from outside. Okay, you have resource and you are buying from outside, then we can do it in another way. Then you can. There's nothing wrong in bringing from outside, but that will not be economical. That's all. No other issues. Two things, Prabhu. It will not be economical, but you will be degrading another land.
Yes, Prabhu. The second question is
that's what I'm telling. We cannot simplify complexity. Again, there will be a problem somewhere. So complex it is. When you buy grass from outside, another part is degrading.
We are just pushing the problem from one location.
From head to shoulder, that's all. From weight from the head, you have put on the shoulder now. That's all. The weight is still there with you. That is why I'm repeatedly saying the context is made understanding the complexity. That you cannot reduce. It's a human tendency to reduce the complexity. And then finally we reach the mask. That's all. No other benefit.
Second question I had was, when we are doing planned grazing, like Krishna Katha was asking about the keeping the bulls and cow together. What if we did like one plot in those 8 held the cows and another plot which is distant held the bulls, and we rotate that?
Yes, that is again we have to plan accordingly. Anyway, they cannot be kept together. But what Krishna Katha Prabhu asked was, when you bring another person's cow, should we think of the cow and the bull together? Like that is what I understood. That is why I told that can be explained only when you are on the land. That is a bit difficult to answer because that is not needed at that time. How much numbers you have, you bring it. It is always good you bring the cow bulls, because to get that impact, they are the best.
So there is a difference between the impact that bulls create and the cows create.
Yes, Prabhu, the bulls are the Deepti Mataji's farm. The bulls are 650 kg plus, and the cows are 550 plus. So you can imagine what will be the impact on the land. Bull impact is more, especially for croplands. Bull is the best.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Correct.
Thank you, Prabhu. The next question is from Swarnim Jain. Please go ahead with this question.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Since this session is for feeding cows,
yes.
So actually I have a limited land of 30 acres,
yes.
And my herd size is more.
Yes.
So I had planted I have planted some indigenous grasses, 4 or 5 varieties of indigenous grasses in some plots. Also, I have planted legumes and pulses, climbers, which will be a very good source of protein. But Prabhuji, at this moment, what should I do? Means, what should be the ideal combination? That's I can just let go my cattle to open grazing for limited period of time. But the rest of the time, I need to supplement them with the dried hay, or you just told that the chaff cutter thing.
Yes.
We have a huge amount of dried hay of the straws, of the remnants of the grains.
Yes.
So what should be the ideal combinations? Means this much percent of open grazing and green grass, this much percent of hay, dried hay, this much percentage of oil cakes for healthy fats. So
for that, you have to tell me your recovery period, your rain patterns, your your resources, how much you can, which all type you can bring in, all those data you have to give.
Okay, and Prabhuji, you told in one slide that the dried fodder is tamasic and rajasic. So if we don't have option right now, currently, so what to do now? When in all the 365 days, we cannot provide the green grass at this point of time in my land.
Yes.
So can we give some oil cakes and dried hay of prepared from straws, remnants of the straw grains?
Yeah, see, that's why I told supplements may have to be given in situations wherein you cannot meet the requirement, the grazing way. You may have to give supplements. That is how Dr. Deepti Mataji's land, they are managing like that only. Some supplement is fed. Otherwise, it cannot.
Yes. And could you recommend some indigenous grass varieties which are very good in nutritional values? Some pulses and legumes varieties, oil cakes from groundnuts or cotton seeds. So could you recommend the best varieties which I can plant in my area or plan in my farm?
Prabhuji, this year what you should do is 1 acre you should select and fence it.
Yes.
And then you should wait for the rain. And when it rains, you will see what will grow there. In the present situation, whatever grass will come, super diversity will come there. Then one day you send the cows there, graze it the way it is told, and then you give the sufficient recovery period. And then again, when the recovery time has come, you again graze them. Prabhu, in another 2-3 years, you will see plenty, 300 varieties of grass growing in your property. Don't buy from anywhere.
Okay.
Depend, have faith on your land. It will bring. All the seeds are there.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Don't bring from anywhere else. You depend on it. Do the practice properly. Your land has all the grain. If there has been ants there, they have the stock of all the seeds. They'll bring it there.
Yes, yes, termites, ants, squirrels.
They will bring it. Don't worry. Allow them to perform their functions.
Yes, I really liked these sessions. These are very eye-opening. And also, the new thing which I understand today is the cows like only the top 1/3 portion.
They're designed for that.
Yeah, and we are giving the whole.
You will spoil the thing. Now, by giving them the whole, then we are deciding which bull to mate. What's the use?
Yes.
What's the point? That's why I was repeatedly telling you, you need to know more things. When you know the whole thing, then you understand what is the point in doing that.
Yes, yes. Because if we consider only 1/3, then the fodder quantity goes on very. We need very high quantity of fodder then.
No, the thing is, the recovery time will reduce when they eat.
Yes,
the tips,
that's another
the recovery time will reduce. That means you'll be able to graze more times.
Yes.
That's why I'm telling you, only when you are on the land and doing these things, you will understand it is nothing. You need to maintain the complexity. That's all.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your all the insightful things.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Hare Krishna. The last question is from Krishna Katha Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Since we have time, I thought of taking this opportunity. Prabhu, so after our session today, so maybe most of the participants also have a little bit of confusion to kind of adjust this, the economics and so on. Like when we saw like 300 acres, 30 acres per cow and so on, it creates kind of there's some sense of apprehension, but we can sort it out later. But on the other side, I see, Prabhu, these goshalas have fresh green grass throughout the years, and I was wondering how these people can get to manage these things. So I'm just trying to figure out what's missing in between, like how, because these guys have the grass throughout the year and they're always in abundant stocks. And then I was thinking like, okay, when we thought like it's complex, like Swarnim Prabhu just mentioned that during summers and so on, we cannot get the fresh grass, and it's a concern. So we have to look for alternatives, but how come these goshalas are managing this much grass? And then I thought like, okay, when they are managing, then maybe we can also try to replicate their same thing, like see what they are doing. And why not I do the same thing to maintain grass for throughout the year?
Yes, Prabhu. You go and see, you'll see that they are irrigating and growing.
Okay. Okay, that means that if my soil health improves and if the water tables in my soil improves and so on, that means that, as Vamshuli Prabhu already said, like if my organic carbon in my soil improves, then they are using irrigation. But for me, if I focus on my soil health, I can manage this even without irrigation.
Now you told the thing.
Okay, perfect. Now it makes sense.
Prabhuji, one more thing I told to Vamshuli Prabhu. When a Goshala is purchasing grass from somewhere, it is destroying another grassland.
Okay, yes.
Why?
Thanks, Prabhu.
Because the mineral cycle in that land is getting disturbed.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Now it's clear the question.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. I can see one more hand from Arvind. Arvind, Prabhu, please go ahead with your question.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Krishna.
Yeah, I don't have a question, but just a remark or feedback. After attending this course, I'm feeling that it is much simpler or easier to maintain a grassland or maintain a land with cows. Earlier, I thought it was very complex because with so many machines, tractors, and workers and all, it looked very difficult for me to become a farmer. But now it looks it is much more simpler because nature will take care of itself if you follow the rules. That is what I'm feeling now.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, that's all from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. So this is all for today now. So we will meet again in the next week.
You see in the chat box. Any questions?
Yes. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, I do have. Yeah, there are a few people have posted few questions. I will just read out.
Abarna madam has posted. We grow jowar, millets,
yes.
and
Prabhu,
rice.
please read.
Farm. We let the cows graze on the cropland, grazing on the stalk after the harvest of grain is got home. Very good. That is how it has to be done. This is how we'll be planning in the coming session. This is one of the tricks or the methods how it has to be done. Then another question is there for IDVM. After completion of course, all PPTs will be sent to all participants' email IDs. Yes. Oh, that you have your answer.
Yes.
Any other question?
Yeah, from Narayana.
Yes, Narayana. Do we need to make sure that the biodiversity in such grassland or grazing area must also be having legumes along with the grasses, or we leave nature to? Exactly, the second part is right, Prabhu. We leave nature to care of the biodiversity. It will improve as the soil quality improves.
Yeah.
Bulls are also preferring grass tips. Definitely, all the ruminants prefer grass tips. The sheep and goat will be preferring the forbs or the bushes. No, they are eating the tips only.
Yes. Thank you. We request the participants today also will be sharing the link of the today's session questionnaire. We request everyone to participate in it. So far for the yesterday's questionnaire, we received only 13 responses. So we require more so that we can understand and we try to give you an informative subject in our upcoming sessions. So we thank you very much for attending the course, and we will meet you in the next week. Thank you very much. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Thank you, Shri Kumar Prabhu. Hare Krishna.